Caleb Williams, come on down to the Windy City. You get to play quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Now, not everyone thinks that's a good idea. Get to the point, please. Now, if you didn't see this, and possibly not, former NFL quarterback, star back in the day in college at Baylor, RG3, Robert Griffin III, said in a video posted on the socials, he said, hey, listen, Caleb Williams, you ought to pull an Eli Manning and refuse to play for Chicago. Say, I ain't going to the Bears. Now, Eli, if you've listened to the show, we were on the air when that draft happened, and Eli Manning got the nickname the Punk. Eli the Punk. That was a punk move. Who doesn't want to live in San Diego? Could have played for the San Diego Chargers. Instead, he had an average career with the Giants, a couple of fluke playoff runs. He was a .500 quarterback, but he could have been living in San Diego, eating fish tacos, living the dream in San Diego. So we didn't like what he did there with the old San Diego Chargers. And RG3, Robert Griffin III, said that he believes that Caleb Williams should do the same thing that Eli Manning did, and he claimed that the Bears screwed up Justin Fields, which is a popular lie. You always know a quarterback toe sucker when they're like, well, listen, it's not the quarterback's fault that he can't read a defense and takes 15 minutes to decide where to throw the ball to. It's not the quarterback's fault. It's the coach's fault, even though he did the same thing at Ohio State. It's the teammates' fault. It's the list of excuses for the flawed quarterback. It's the offensive line. It's the coaches. It's the teammates. It's the scheme. It's all that. Never look at the mirror. That's normally where the problem is. Now, could coaching be better? Sure. Could you have better teammates? Sure. However, I have seen some morbid football teams where you knew the quarterback had something. Right? There were bad coaches and bad teammates, and still you saw a little spark. There wasn't that much of a spark with Justin Fields. So, this is not about him. Right? This is about Caleb Williams. So let us discuss the question, should Caleb Williams, the new prodigy out of the University of Southern California, pull an Eli Manning, to quote RG3, and demand that the Bears pass him over, draft somebody else? He didn't want to play in Chicago. So I've got Marines, quantum physics, and silver carp. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a nice blinky, which is what Caleb Williams will need wherever he ends up. So to answer the question, should Caleb Williams pull an Eli Manning? I think you already know my answer. This is, the whole premise of it is dumb. That's the premise, right? Chicago, I've been there many times. I have family in Chicago. Chicago is a great Bears town. It's a dormant Bears town because the Bears normally aren't that good, but that's the team. It ain't the Cubs. It's not the Bulls. Maybe the Blackhawks a little bit, but it's mostly the Chicago Bears. It's a Bears town. And the Bears have been bad for the most part. Right? So it's been hibernation, appropriate enough for the Chicago Bears. Nevertheless, opportunity knocking here. And I'm not the biggest Caleb Williams guy. I've taken shots at him. We named him the crying quarterback on this show. But I look at RG3, and I say, this guy is an all-you-can-eat buffet of bad takes. Whether you want bad takes in the pasta form, the burger form, the pizza form, whatever it is, whatever your chicken, bad takes. Bad takes are us from RG3. Caleb Williams actually has a chance to get a couple of gold stars near his name. Let me explain. All right? Because right now I look at this guy as a Mr. Softy, that he's soft-served Caleb Williams. I do. Right now, he's the crying quarterback. Until proven otherwise, he's the crying quarterback. He is a glass case of emotion, as I learned from Anchorman back in the day. And you look at that situation, and you're like, you go to Chicago, and you accept what's going on, coach that's probably going to be fired after 1 year. But the Bears did go out and get a pretty good receiver. They improved, they think, the running game in Chicago. So there's a few more playmakers there for the Bears, and they have multiple high draft picks other than the number one overall pick. So they're in pretty solid shape in that department. But he is known as the crying quarterback for crying on his mommy's shoulder after losing a game at SC to Washington. So take a page out of the Marines. If you're Caleb Williams, take a page out of the Marines, go to the Bears, and embrace the suck. Embrace the suck. Don't run away from a tough situation. You make it better, right? You show that you are the one. Show that you've got that fire in your belly. A true competitor would love the opportunity to go to Chicago and own that town as the Super Bowl winning quarterback. Jim McMahon is an old man. His body is broken. And he goes anywhere in Chicago, any of those sports bars in Chicago, free drinks, free food, whatever, they take care of him. That was 2 generations ago. The Chicago football team won the Super Bowl in the mid-1980s. 2 generations have come since then, and still those members of that Chicago Bears team of 1985 are celebrated and revered, and not to say that it will be exactly the same, but be a competitor. Go in there and light the town up. All right, now, page 2. So we bounce over to not the NFL draft, because the NFL draft is not for another month. We're a little over a month away. But we have radio silence out of New York regarding the Jets suck. So the Jets, you look around, they were supposed to trade Zach Wilson. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants Zach Wilson. At this point, the Jets, what are they going to get for him? Probably nothing. Well, there's another story, though, connecting. There's some rumblings, yet again, tying the LA Rams as the ideal destination for Zach Wilson, even though they signed the roid guy, Jimmy Garoppolo, who will be hanging out with all the porn stars in the San Fernando Valley when he's playing for the Rams. He'll be happy to know the Rams training facility is not that far away from Chatsworth, where they used to make all the movies. I don't think they make all them now, all now there. But anyway, listen, so the question on this one, a report tying Zach Wilson to the Rams yet again, that connection being made. Does Zach Wilson to the Rams make any sense? Does it make any sense? So if the Jets, let's play this out, this hypothetical, if the Jets would be willing to take the leftover cigarette butts in Sean McVay's rental car, okay. Like, you don't give up anything. Zach Wilson is not worth anything. He cannot play. He has the skill set, but he cannot perform at a high level in the NFL. And it's essentially with him, if you're Sean McVay, and he likes to consider himself the quarterback whisperer, he's taking a little credit for Baker Mayfield getting the big contract in Tampa after stopping briefly with the Rams. They brought in last year another retread project. And McVay likes futzing around with these quarterbacks that are broken. And Carson Wentz was the one last year. Didn't play that much. Played at the end. Beat the 49ers in week 18. But you look around, and with Zach Wilson, it's like quantum physics. You're turning energy into matter with atoms. You're moving atoms around with Zach Wilson, because it's not just a cosmetic situation. You've got to completely redo the atom. You've got to move atoms around and all that. And Zach Wilson, everyone's like, well, he sits out a year, and then he works with Sean McVay, and that's good. So it's the Sean McVay quarterback rehab clinic where Zach Wilson goes and hangs out for a year, doesn't play, and then leaves and goes somewhere else and reaps the fruit of that by sitting and not playing. Is there any other business where by not performing, your value goes up? The NFL is fascinating to me. Mitch Trubisky was not very good. He went and sat in Buffalo, and then he essentially got the keys to a starting job and then couldn't handle it. Sam Darnold with the San Francisco football team, after failing with the Jets and failing with Carolina, he went and he got hemorrhoids sitting on the bench with the Niners. He then now has the keys essentially to the Viking job. It's wild. All right, final point. So we take a little journey down south, right? The old hop, skip, and a jump down below the Mason-Dixon line. And a story in the Bayou, the New Orleans Saints have made a move. They agreed to terms with edge rusher Chase Young, formerly of the 49ers. So he is now headed on a 1-year contract to the New Orleans football team. He'll enjoy the gumbo and the po' boys and all that. and the Voodoo Boogaloo in New Orleans. So are things looking up or are things looking down for Chase Young after he gets that deal for the Saints? So after a seconds-long Maller investigation on this, it is looking like a silver carp for Chase Young. My memory of Chase Young as a 49er is him dogging it in the NFC Championship game against the Lions. That's my memory of Chase Young. So, and you know what else? That's also the memory of a number of NFL teams. This was not the plan. This was not the plan. The plan was you get sent from Washington to the 49ers. You help the Niners get to the Super Bowl. Rah-rah. You get that big contract. And instead, the Niners got to the Super Bowl, and Chase Young puked all over his pants. He just projectile vomited all over his pants in the NFC Championship game. But it's looking like a silver carp in the respect it's an invasive species like the flying carp in the Mississippi River. And it's flying up and hitting this guy right in the schnoz, Chase Young, right in the schnozola there, right out of the Mississippi, because Young went from blue chip to broken chip, just like that. And if he were a chair, if you would describe the way that Chase Young plays football, if he was a chair, he would be the lazy boy. He plays a flaccid style of football most of the time, and you toss in he's got an ACL problem, and this is the only thing he could get. It's a brochure. It's a take-a-flyer situation. In theory, the Saints will partner him up with Cameron Jordan, and they'll have a 1-2 punch, just like the 49ers with Bosa were going to have, and it didn't work out because the guy takes every other play off. So how do you win with that? It's one of those things that sounds better in theory than in reality. Fill out your tourney bracket now in the Fox Sports Radio Bracket Challenge. Here's how it works. You visit foxsportsradio.com to register. You should have that saved already. Fill out your bracket and get rules compete against Fox Sports Radio talent and fellow listeners to see who has the best bracket. The winning bracket wins the ultimate college sports trip for you and a friend with a $2,000 graduate hotel gift card. How cool is that? A $1,500 travel credit and a basketball swag bag. I'm all about the swag bag. You get that if you win this. The FoxSportsRadio.com Bracket Challenge is now live, and it is presented by Graduate Hotels, where college fans stay, and by Tractor Supply. So good luck. Again, FoxSportsRadio.com. Register, fill out your bracket. Good luck to you.